welcome to Inspiring Generations. I'm your host, Celeste Williams. Wow, it seems like the spring is bringing us much April Fool's weather because, it hasn't been steady, but believe me, I tell you, the summer's on its way. And I wanted to send a shout out to those people who have lost their mobility and through this pandemic, it seems like you can't get out and you can't do the things that you usually would do. Believe me, better times are on the way because I know perfectly how it feels to be immobile. I lost my life for 10 years to the wheelchair and doing crafts and going outdoors and congregating with other people kind of made me feel strong and wanting to have some hope, to walk again. So if you're experiencing any of these conditions through this pandemic, I want you to know that I'm with you because I've been on that side of things. That's my shout out to the community today. But I have in the studio today Chelsea, Civic Director. And some of you may know her, some of you may not. Her name is Miss Mimi Graney, and I would like to welcome her to Inspiring Generations. Good morning, Mimi. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be on your show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I'm honored that you agreed to come and have a chat with me. And maybe we'll have the chance today to inspire someone to look into the arts, look into civic duty, look into volunteering, which is civic duty in a way, but we can take it to different levels, right? As long as we're engaged, and keep informed. And that you do. You do keep us informed, and I am so pleased at how downtown Chelsea is shaping up. I've seen what you do. I feel like I've been on a journey with you. Definitely. Only because when I met Mimi, I had just joined the senior center. I think I was like 2 years in, and basically we were doing a lot of indoor stuff. We weren't doing a lot of outdoor stuff. And when I saw Mimi putting chairs out one day on City Hall, I was compelled to ask her, can I help you? Do you need any volunteers? And she said, no, not right now, but if I ever do, I will ask you. And she's a woman of her word. She kept her promise. She has engaged me in things that I aspired to do but never had the chance to do. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that as we go along into this segment. So Mimi, what inspired you to come to Chelsea?
Well, I've been working here in Chelsea for 4 years, but it's a city that I've known for a while. I had been coming to the Apollinaire Theater and going to Dylan's Steam Room and going to Mystic Brewing, and was a community that I had really wanted to work with. And I had been doing some work with the state and was hoping to kind of connect with the city, and it didn't work out that way. So when the downtown coordinator position opened up, I saw my chance to kind of really dig into the city even better than some of the roles I had seen that were much more part-time. And it's been really great being here and getting to know people like you and the rest of the community here. It's
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Also, your job, it keeps you busy. I could see that because you barely have time to talk to people, and you are visible. You're in the community, and you're approachable, But I know when I approach you that you're busy, so I try not to take up too much of your time, But the things I want to say to you, I can say to you, and I know you take all things in consideration. And I've seen you talk to people that have been very misunderstood, you know, because of their mental health. I never seen you shun anyone, on down to even someone in that condition. You have been nurturing and caring, and we're glad to have you here. And in saying that, when you did give, I can't remember the day exactly, but I know I was 57 years old, and it was 2017, and that was your first year taking on the job as Civic Director.
Yeah.
And do you remember me asking you, could us seniors engage?
Yeah, so that was when we were doing sort of a lunchtime market on City Hall lawn, and we had different places where you could get takeout lunch and music every week and lots of activities. And I was so appreciative when the senior center's like, sure, we'll come, and we're going to do Zumba, and we're going to engage the community. And you all just brought such great vibrancy. And I'll never forget, you know, all of you on the brick area in between. And I just appreciate how the senior center has partnered with me on many things, like at the Gallery 456 when we did the art show, where all the seniors brought in the work that they did, and we got to showcase them.
Yes.
And a lot of the great parties at the senior center. It's been really great.
So, see, this is why I invited you. This is why, because how we're rolling along in events as we speak, those are wonderful moments to remember as seniors, because even though I don't look like what a senior is supposed to look like, I don't know, there's a stereotype of what a senior is supposed to look like and what they should be doing, but I don't think I fit that norm. So it's hard to find where you fit in sometimes, and that happens to me a lot. But you are aware of certain programs that can engage seniors, and I've seen that. I remember doing art for Division Street, and we were on the roof, the roof deck of the senior center, and we got a chance to express ourselves, which is still hanging there on Division Street.
Yeah, so some folks might not know what the project is. So 3 years ago, Division Street was just lots of potholes and dirty and just probably one of the worst streets in the city. And so the first step was we repaved it, and the city put down new sidewalks. But it's still, the buildings nearby weren't in great shape. It just wasn't a pleasing place to be. And we were looking at how can we make it a place where folks would maybe, like, out of the hustle bustle of Broadway. Sometimes you just want a little quieter place to be. There's also a number of people live on Broadway, on Division Street, like that's their front door. A lot of the businesses, that's like the rear entrance there, but that doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be an unpleasant spot. So, and we were also concerned, once the pavement was nice and smooth, would the cars start speeding along there and not making it a safe place to be? So we thought, well, if we do some really great public art, that would accomplish a bunch of things. One, it would make it much more beautiful, attractive, colorful. It would encourage the cars to slow down, because they'd be like, oh, what's going on? This is like some bright colors. People live here.
Yeah.
So 2 years ago, thankfully the senior center went and said, we'd love to participate. We've got a lot of great artists here. And I knew working outside up on ladders was not the way to go. And one of the building owners had the windows on their parking garage were boarded up, and they wanted to keep them boarded up for security reasons. So we basically matched the same size of those boards, brought them over to the senior center, and all your team were able to create these beautiful individual works of art. Working together on our theme of food. And just did some really beautiful, colorful storytelling.
Every time I walk down there, I get inspired to do something different in my art just by seeing someone else's art.
Yeah.
So that's what I take away from it. And it also reminds me of when I was younger, even for the younger ones, it's a place to go and see that there's possibilities of them also participating in doing art for the community. So all around, everybody wins. You know, it's a win-win situation, and it's a safety issue as well. So
yeah, and
I
there were
appreciate
there were other artists, not just seniors, took part. We had, you know, a young student at the high school. We had a bunch of other artists that were just doing things at home. That this was the first time they were able to do something on a bigger scale. So we gave them big garage doors and other doors. And then last summer, those artists were then, they had built some experience. We had some other workshops. They did bigger murals.
Right.
And folks are going to be impressed this year. We have got planned something even more massive.
You heard that. Mimi says something more massive is coming. More projects are coming. Mimi, when you were growing up, you grew up in Somerville.
Well,
you?
I grew up as an adult in Somerville.
Oh,
Yep.
so Somerville grew you up as an adult.
Yes.
Were there lots of things to do in Somerville when you were?
Somerville reminds me a lot, well, Chelsea reminds me a lot of Somerville when I first lived there. You know, people used to call it Slummerville, and it was not the nice place to be. And there were some good arts programs, but there was, you know, still a lot of poor people, a lot of folks that were new immigrants, kind of similar to here. The big problems people had were trash and crime and not feeling safe. And then over the years, just more and more people came with the spirit of like, we love the city, we're going to care for it, we're going to do this by working together and building an identity around living from that city. And I see Chelsea, you know, when you talk about your first thing, when we first met, you came over, is like, I want to help.
Yeah.
I see that happens in Chelsea every single day.
Yeah.
You know, not just setting up chairs, but every time people see me, usually I'm hauling something
I
up
know
and
you're
down
doing
Broadway.
something. I know that.
Well,
you
there's
know.
not one time, every single time I'm out doing something, somebody comes and asks,
asks,
can I help?
Now see, that's a sense of making connections. That's a sense of coming from Somerville to here with the understanding that it's a similar situation. You can't fix every problem, but there's some things that if we all engage and want to make it a better space for everyone, then sometimes it's not a monetary thing. It's just a civic duty. You know, it's like doing jury duty. You know, it's just civic duty.
Well, it's funny, I don't think of it as duty. I think of it as love.
Wow.
And I think this is something that you bring to how you are in the world. Like for me, it's like, my work isn't about like, oh, we have a responsibility. It's just like, it's like, I love people. And like, I love this community and this space. And it's really about kind of caring and respecting and connecting with one another.
I could truly see that. I could truly see that. And when I was reading a little of your bio, and I was like, she went to Jesuit school?
Divinity school.
Yeah, for theology. I was like, she's connected with the, she's connected with the higher power. She understands what love is. You do. You do understand it. Because of the flower thing that we've been growing since 2019. The mural was done in the Chelsea Walk.
Yeah.
And then the flower planters were put in, and then the cutouts. I just seen everything come together. And I saw you planting there. And I said, she looks like she needs help.
Well, and it's also, I didn't know what the heck I was doing, so I was so glad you came over to help me.
I was like, she looks like she needs help, and I have time. Mimi, can I help? And you didn't deny me. Oh, and I so needed it that day. I couldn't, you know, you can't express to people like, my day is not going that well. But what you're doing right now, digging in the dirt, for me, it could be a whole nother metaphor. I could use that kind of little therapy right now.
Yep.
Calm me down. And it did. And it brought out something in me that I've been missing. because that's one of the things I love to do. I did landscaping. But when I had my accident, 10 years of, rehab, meds, I lost a lot of desire for the things I used to do. Yeah. And I met you after this, after coming back from that.
Yeah.
So when you were planting, it just brought something back to me. It's like, she's doing something I love. Can I engage? Can I help out? And then 2020, the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But we still were resilient. Chelsea still was resilient. And hence why I say that is because Mimi went out and bought these beautiful flowers. I can name them all, but some of you out there might not know what I'm talking about, but you can look it up, and I'll name some of them. One of the flowers that Mimi bought was called Celeste. It's a really beautiful pink flower, and it grows tall. And it was like these little babies when you bought them, because you bought them from like nursery size. And you linked me up with a partner, which we are now friends. Deborah Zabat.
Yeah.
Hi, Deborah. Shout out to you on this one, because we're talking flowers, right? And Mimi, I had to give you credit for that. I had to give you credit for that because you lit a fire in me. So even when I was asked the next year, to help out, and you were on another, you had to do something else. So Deborah and I teamed up.
Yeah, you guys are
called this lady, and
yeah.
and we were short people. We kept our commitment, and we were there.
Yeah.
But who would know, Mimi? And I want to ask you this question: did you ever see that as being bigger than it was in just those 3 planters to what we have going on now?
So there's 2 things to that for me. One is, I feel like part of my role is just introduce people to each other and spark something. And sometimes people don't feel permission that they can make a difference in their neighborhood. Sometimes you just need to invite people and say, we need you. Like, this is your space too. And it's hard to do it alone. Like that day when I was out doing the flowers by myself. Yeah. When you came to join me, it's like it became bigger because we came together.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, it's a little bit like planting a seed. Sometimes they grow, sometimes they don't. So you plant lots of seeds, and then you can just kind of let them grow. And I so appreciate that you and Deborah have been taking a lead, and there's all these other community partners, like the mural that's on Chelsea Walk. Green Roots took that on.
Yes, love Green Roots, by the way.
Yeah, and you and Deborah are doing the planting, and the Apollinaire is doing other things. Like it builds up to be bigger than an individual, so it's no longer just little flowers, it becomes a garden together.
Yeah.
And
totally.
So
totally.
It's a beautiful thing, but it doesn't surprise me too much.
Well, I'm happy to see the developments, and that's why I'm doing the show, and that's why I love this platform so much. It's hard to get people to come and just talk to you and be vulnerable. A little bit about your life, a little bit about what you do for work, can even engage the community more to see you in a different way. If they didn't see you that way before, they can see that Mimi is doing things to make our community better. And when you see her out there, yes, she is approachable, but she's a very busy lady, like I stated.
I'm never too busy,
But she's never too busy to say hello. So I was interested in your next project. I saw that you were looking for storytelling.
Yeah, so we're doing a bunch of walking tours this summer. So a number of people have been doing research on their particular neighborhoods, and they're going to be guiding in-person walking tours, small groups, everybody masked so it's still safe. But then we'll also make them available online so that people can just look up the information and go to those spots themselves, and you can follow along on the little map. So Lee Farrington is doing one on Prattville and she's been finding all kinds of things about Prattville. Pepper Fee is doing one on the waterfront, and has actually been doing some separate meetings connecting with residents, sort of longtime residents, that are telling stories about this used to be there, this is what used to happen here. We're doing one on the history of Jewish Chelsea. Folks maybe have seen those with Ellen Rovner. One on the public art in the downtown, and one about where movies have been made in Chelsea. And there's an awful lot of movies and TV shows that have been shot here. So that one might just be virtual, because then you can see the film clips. So those are going to be starting in early May, and they'll be rolling out through the summer.
I am so excited. Do you hear that? We are going to be having all sorts of things coming up as as we get control over the pandemic, and our community starts to come back healthy. These are promising things that we have to look forward to, thanks to you, Mimi.
Can I tell you about 2 big murals that folks might want to know about, so it won't be a surprise? So behind the scenes, so even through the pandemic, we've been having all these small group meetings and virtual meetings. So we're creating a giant 80-foot mural that's going to be on 5th Street, right next to the side of the McDonald's. That's basically going to tell the 400 years of history of Chelsea in a mural. So it's featuring all these individual people. It's going to be super colorful. So the design is complete, and the artist is painting it in his studio, and it's going to come in July.
Cool.
And then the big mural for Division Street is going to be 4 blocks long. It's going to be the entire length of Division Street, from Stop and Compare, like behind Tukasa, to behind the Apollinaire Theater. And then another one on Winnissimmet Street in Chelsea Square. So we're going to need lots and lots of people to come and help us paint those.
So, and there's no requirements that you should be a certain age, right? So seniors, if you have the time and you want to engage in what's coming up soon with the murals, you can contact Mimi if you are using a computer, because I know a lot of seniors don't have a computer and they're not linked to online things, so they miss a lot. They miss a lot of what's going on in the community. So I'm glad that I have this platform. So if you are watching, the next show that I do on Inspiring Generations, I'll get some dates from Mimi that, as we go along. So when these projects will be starting, so you can come out and sign up to volunteer. Because I know, like I said, the computer doesn't work for some seniors. I'm thinking of you guys every time I do Inspiring Generations, because I'm a senior now, and when I have young people come up to me and say, it's because of you I finished college, because of you I studied nursing, and now I'm an RN, which has been happening to me, and I want to cry, but thank you for the young people that have come and told me that I made a difference in their life. And thank you, Mimi, for coming at a time in my life that I needed that little boost, to even inspire other seniors to say, you know what, we can do this. We can engage in a painting, making paint, when they seen younger seniors step up, the older ones, they say, okay. They say, okay. They say, okay, that I'm following their footsteps and inspired by them. Because remember, I didn't want to mind paintings with a 90-year-old. We shared half.
Well, I believe that we all have something to contribute, and there's a way of, like, if people say, I don't have a computer, I have mobility issues, it's like, we can figure it out. There's some ways you can make. So actually, a senior right now is working with me on the walking tours. She is the one that we're taking all the text from the people who are doing the research, and she's our editor and helping me organize them all.
Awesome.
So we're able to and she was having some trouble with the computer stuff, and I'm like, well, just make it straightforward, and it's been so wonderful working with her.
It helps us.
Yeah.
It helps us seniors, even if we're not computer literate. If there's something that requires a computer, if you have someone that's computer literate working alongside of you, it's easy to pick it up.
Yeah.
Because I was at college at 40.
And I can do
And
old school.
There was so much young people. I think the oldest person was 69 years old.
Wow.
You know, and he was taking photography.
Wow.
And I was taking business administration. But that doesn't mean you're done. You heard what Mimi said. You're not done. If you're a senior and you want to engage in the community, don't feel like there's nothing that you can't do. You know, if you tell her that you can engage, she can make it possible.
Even just
For
sharing
whatever
stories.
your disability is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So Mimi, I saw the gallery on Broadway, and I, you know, just to inspire, you know, someone that wants to use that gallery. I just want to talk about it for a few minutes before we run out of time.
Yep.
There's a display up there, and I passed there the other day, and I saw people, you know, trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, they saw all these different trash papers, and you know, and if they looked on the screens that you guys have there, it showed like environmental stuff, and to connect the two. One woman said to me, "I can't understand what's going on here. There's nothing written, and there is something on the door there."
Yeah.
If you want to know about that art piece that's going on right now at 456, there's the content is written right on the door, and it tells you about what the beauty of Chelsea was, even in finding the trash, right?
Yeah, so that's the artist Mark Morelli. He's a longtime Chelsea resident. Folks might have seen him. He used to work at Chow and when they had the Chow Market. And he's been one of the people helping us through as a volunteer during the pandemic, working at the food program. And he walks his dog every day, and he's always just usually walking along. And he would pick up the little bits of trash along the way. And for him, they're like little mysteries. And it tells you something about the person that had gone by. So whether it's a little kid's report card or a bill somebody had or their grocery list, and it's like this little thing of like, who was this person that went by? What was going on with their day? And he saves them. And when we put them up there, for me, it's like a little mystery of like, who are all these people that went by that I don't really know what's going on with them?
I thought it was, I think it's amazing. I think that people should, you know, take a little moment to go down and really take it in and give it some thought of meditation, of just what you described.
Yeah, it is a little bit like a meditation.
It's a little mystery. And who doesn't love a little mystery?
Yeah, and if people don't like it, there's always a new show coming.
There's a new show coming, right?
So one of the shows coming up is going to be one from the Boston Area Mask Initiative. So through the pandemic, there's been remember early on where you couldn't get a mask and you had to make your own. A whole bunch of people came together, and people probably remember we were giving away all these cloth masks. The people who've been making those masks, they have all these little scraps of fabric left over, so they've made this beautiful quilt that will be hanging up in the gallery. That's going to come right after 4th of July. So I try to have each of the shows be something that tells us something about our community, that be like a mirror up to Chelsea. So you had mentioned of like, if folks have an idea for a show, I would love to work with them, and there's stipends available to help you cover the costs of framing and printing. I always try to work with people that want to help us hold a mirror up to Chelsea. So and I like for Mark's show, it's like I want to see Chelsea through his eyes.
Right.
And Matt Frank did a photo show where we got to see his views, which were like along the landscapes.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Then
I love art.
Yeah.
So anything that has to do with art, I'm there.
Yeah.
Because it's not something that's new for me. It's something that always I had, but because of life, I had to choose a different career.
Yeah.
But art, I've always been on the art scene, whether it be here, New York, wherever,
Yeah.
California. You know, I did the pageant of the arts in California. They have it every August 22nd where art comes alive. Like actually people paint themselves and I saw the Last Supper with live people, but you didn't know it was live people.
Wow.
So that's an amazing thing. So I've seen all kinds of art made of ice.
Wow.
You know, so endless possibilities, endless possibilities.
Yeah.
One last thing. I know what you do, and we talked about what you do, but your job took a change too last year. I saw you had to pause on some of the projects that you're doing to asking for donations for diapers.
Yeah. Well, like for everybody, it's like, I remember in early March, and it felt a little like a giant arm on my desk and just swooped everything off, and it felt like this is a crisis. And the priority was getting people food and safe places to be and feed, diapers and whatever. So I've been kind of glad to do it, and then we still were able to still do some of the art projects.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, because we worked on one up in Beacon.
Yeah, the chalk one?
During that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we did the space, the community came together and did the background, but the lovely artist
Yeah,
that worked on that, I think she did a wonderful job. I went up there one night in the snow, and I moonwalked kind of and took a video of it. I have a video that I took of that space, and you were cleaning brushes and just being amazing.
Yeah.
And so that's why I love having you here today on this platform. You're such an inspiring woman. And I know you have a lot of young people that are working with you, and they're amazing, because I've met some of them, you know, in the summer months. You know, they're very dedicated
Yep.
to helping out in the community, and that's what you do, and that's why I brought you here.
Yeah.
And I thank you for coming.
Well, thank you, and thank you for your leadership in the community. You're really connecting so well with the seniors, and I've seen on how you've been doing the planting, and just you gather people around you with such a good energy. So thank you for all you do for the community.
Well, it's
the
all
city's
love.
better because of you.
It's all love. You pass the love around, and I'll just pass them around too.
Yes.
And that's the way it can work, you know. What I understood today, and Mimi inspired me in so many ways just by talking to her right now. It doesn't have to be a sense of duty. You know, it just has to be a sense of love for your community and others around you. Each one teach one, and make some vital connections so we can make our environment a better place. And on that note, I want to say thank you for watching Inspiring Generations, and we'll see you next time.